What's going on, everyone? This is part 7 of Uncle Tom Reviews. Let's get into it.
Lawyers are challenging man-in-the-house rules and other kinds of requirements which are restricting. This, I presume, would be additional people who could become eligible for additional money if these were challenged.
Yes, that would raise the cost even more.
To recruit people into the welfare system, we relaxed the rules. If a woman had to declare paternity in order to qualify for welfare, the ACLU sued and said this is a violation of her privacy rights. They also said that the nuclear family, Ozzie and Harriet, was Eurocentric and therefore racist.
Oh, that's where it came from.
The women's movement concurred with that. The Black Power movement also agreed. Millions of blacks in a period of less than 4 years flooded into the welfare system in major cities. At a time when the unemployment rate for blacks in New York for males was less than 4%.
So they pushed something that you didn't really need. It's crazy. They create these welfare things saying you need it. Majority of them didn't need it, but you want to push it on them. You try to incentivize them to get on it. Why? So they become dependent on it. They get used to, oh, I can get used to getting money and just sitting here and not doing anything. And they give extra incentive if you didn't have a husband in the house, a man in the house. Come on, you setting them up to fail long term. But hey, no good intentions, right?
I could get me a job where I could be my own man. They make me think that they're feeling sorry for me. Give me this, give me what I need. This is like a pet, like a dog, like.
Imagine. Let's say this black man came into, let's say I switch places with him. He's going to be like, yo, they treating y'all like pets. The Democrat Party treating the black community like pets. Y'all don't see it that way, though. Y'all feel like y'all entitled to that. They supposed to do this for us after all the crap they put us through. I don't know, man. I guess I just think differently.
Give him. You have to be fed now. Give him some food.
What you then saw as a consequence of separating work from income, the out-of-wedlock births in the black community began to skyrocket. Went from under 25% to 70%.
It is a neutron bomb that was dropped on this country, and it really hurt families, especially the black family. During slavery, a black kid was more likely to be raised under a roof with his biological mother and biological father than today. The welfare state has done more to destroy and destabilize the black family than even slavery did.
We allowed them to remove the fathers from our homes, removing the backbone of our families.
I remember my dad used to be hard on us, making us fold clothes and washing dishes properly. And if we didn't, we got a whooping. If we didn't do them right, or if we, didn't do them when he told us to do them. And I didn't like him when he did that to us.
Yeah.
My dad made me a responsible man by doing it. Mm-hmm. And it just really made me wonder, what if he wasn't there?
Wow. Hearing stuff like that really makes me appreciate how privileged I am to have been raised by my father, right? Even though it wasn't as often as I would like, he still had some influence in my life. And just that little, and I had a completely different outcome than most kids that come out of a single parent household, right? You need the influence of both parents. I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you have a 2-parent household, be grateful, because that is a privilege in of itself, to have 2 parents in your house, in your life, because that's a great blessing. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm lost for words.
I'm very blessed to be where I am today, and a lot of that has to do with the upbringing I had from my father, who was in the house, who made sure that we were in school, who made sure that we were clothed, that we had shelter, that we had food. That was my father.
When I was growing up, fathers led, and you knew not to be fighting and carrying on because you had respect for the elderly, and you respect yourself because you represented your parents when you're out there. But that representation is no longer there because the man is not there.
If you look at every major issue facing the black community today, it can be stemmed back to fatherlessness. You see black people joining gangs. They're joining the gang to simulate a family unit. Family unit could be solved with a father. don't understand what it's like how to treat a woman, how to be respectful, how to earn a living the legal way. They didn't have a father in their home that taught them these things. And then that father didn't have a father in his home. So this generational fatherlessness is far more dangerous to the black community than institutional or generational racism.
If you want to claim about systematic racism, that was welfare. Because essentially, they pushed this on you, black woman, black community. You was like, oh, I mean, I can use it. You use it. They got you comfortable in it. And then future generations got incentivized to do that very same thing. And it self-fulfilling prophecy. And look where we're at now. Worse off than we were before they introduced the thing. They give us a thing. Democrats' policies are like, they give you something trying to be a solution, and then end up causing more pain in the long run, and then they trying to correct it. So they fed you, they burn your house down, and then they want to come in and put the fire out. Like, Democratic playbook. And you mad at the Republicans because they don't want to give you any special treatment. Like, they don't want to be like, oh, we're making this policy specifically for you. And for that, they're racist. For that, they're not for the black person. I don't know. I think we got to let go of this. Honestly, this black trauma is just it's an emotional response to hold on to the past. The past is immutable. We can never change it. No matter how much you make current white people suffer for the transgressions of their ancestors, so-called ancestors, because a lot of white people here are immigrants or descendant of immigrants. They have no historic ties to slavery. Not most of them anyway. I don't know, man. I'm just reacting.
If there is a strong man in the household, people aren't eligible for these benefits. So you see how it kind of starts and it just grows and grows and grows.
With the political left, this whole idea that government can bring people out of poverty and that government can fix all the problems, we know that government can't do that government can't raise a family.
He was like, man, this job, you can have the piece. I said, that, I want the money in your car.
DeQuandre Weaver was 14 years old when this video was shot. And this week, a judge sentenced him to serve 20 years in prison for a list of felonies. Because the left has promoted the welfare state, has encouraged women to marry the government, has allowed men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility, we have these problems.
It is no wonder that you...
Incentives. Humans are incentive-based. I'll stand on that. Whatever your policies incentivize, you're incentivizing behavior. Oh, but that wasn't our intention. Doesn't matter what your intention was. What's the outcome? Look at the result. Look at why no one's double checking these policies? Because one thing I know is about government, once they add something in, they never discard it. They never review it. They never take it out. Oh, let's look at welfare. Oh my God, it's causing more problems. Let's reform this. No, they just the same old. Let's make it more accessible. And they're trying to push the same stuff to the Latino community now. And then the Latino community is going to end up like how we end up, right? Like, one thing I'll accept is the black community has been they experiment on the black community first. But they claim it's white people. I think the Democrats do it. They say, okay, we see how they end up. Okay, let's do the same thing on this community and this community. Democrats for the longest have been trying to tell the Asian people, yo, you should let us help you. Come on, you should stop working so hard. You should let us help you. That's how it always starts. That's how the Democrats always approach people. Let us help you. And then when you get the help, you end up becoming dependent on them. And next thing you know, you can't do anything on your own. Trade-offs, people. You're making a trade-off regardless if you think so or not. Oh, I'm gonna finesse the government, and then you see what happened with those PPP loan people. Come on.
You have the chaos. More blacks are killing other blacks in 1 year than the Klan killed in the 70 years.
Wow. I'm not even gonna pause it. But Black Lives Matter though. One going to prison, one's dead.
Autopilot in the destruction of our own communities.
Black on black crime is something that our media tells us that we're not allowed to talk about. Over 93% of black homicide victims are killed by other black people. But we are not supposed to be outraged, and we're not told to remember the names of those victims. Because if we begin to focus on that area, something that is causing real harm and devastation to our communities, we might uncover the truth. our inner cities are all by Democrat design. Like Chicago, like Baltimore, and like Detroit, they have been run by Democrats for decades. We have been made to believe that the conditions in our cities are normal. We're supposed to turn a blind eye to the corruption, to the crime, to the gangs, and instead focus on what our media deems of more importance. We are instead told that we should be focusing on white people. We're supposed to be reactive and angry and fearful about white supremacy, when in fact, it is liberal supremacy that is harming our communities.
In the inner cities.
It's not a race thing. It's an idea thing. And the ideas that's being pushed on the black community is causing our negative outcomes as a whole, as a community as a whole, right? And these same people, instead of reevaluating their ideas, they rather go, hey, look, a squirrel, and still do what they want to do. Because keeping you guys this way doesn't threaten their coalition of power that they gain having the 95% of the black vote that they can consistently rely on. But if they actually did fix any of the problems, it gives you a little bit more autonomy. You have more choice, and they don't want you to have more choices. They want you to have limited choices that lead you all back to them, the Democratic Party. Now, everything I just said here was an opinion, but you can kind of see where I'm, like, my reasoning with it. Like, you can see why. Like, this is a more prominent, like, I'm more likely to get killed by another black man than a cop. What they tell us to focus on. I'm going probability, anything's possible. I give it to you. Okay, anything's possible. But what's the likelihood? What's the probability? What's going to happen? What's more probable? Me getting shot by a black cop or another black man? Even criminals know another black criminal will kill me before a cop kills me. The stats show otherwise. More black people kill each other than the Klan ever did. Ever did. And you want me to worry about, oh my God, the Ku Klux Klan. But I told you, it's us. Black community, come on. Only we can fix the problem. No one on the outside gonna help you. One side, all they can do is really support you or empower you. That's all they can really do. But if you want change in the culture, it has to start with us, honestly. And that's why I'm trying to push so strongly, so favorably to have a more conservative perspective on things. Because I believe that's where we were at our best. Not with this liberal Marxist, whatever they're trying to teach us now. Because the very thing they push for, breaking down the nuclear family, led to our downfall as a community. We were more resilient in the past than we are now. Black women complain about no one to protect them. What example did men have to see that? I was going to blame it on personal choice, that you incentivize bad behavior. If men growing up keep seeing, hey, a certain type of dude always get all the females, you incentivize him to follow along, to model that behavior. And we already know that model of man in the black community don't produce strong families. Look at the strong single motherhood rate, 76%. If women start making different choices, hey, men will act differently. At least the next generation.
Who's killing who? Back in slavery, they used to rip the families apart, take the father out of the home. Now we removing ourselves from the home. These are things that I believe have gotten us to the point where we are on autopilot for the liberal movement.
You begin to ask yourself, why is it that more black women are getting abortions than any other ethnic group? And you begin to look at maps of where these Planned Parenthood clinics are situated.
77% of Planned Parenthood abortion mills are located in the inner cities.
Somehow, the script was flipped, and so it became a civil right to abort a child.
It is her body, it is her right, it is her decision.
It became a woman's reproductive right, but nobody really examined the motives behind it.
52% of all African American pregnancies end in abortion, 1,786 a day, and since 1973, over 20 million African Americans have been killed by abortion alone.
Or more.
Wow, that was tough for me to hear, but no one's going to call Planned Parenthood racist. We're the feminists for that. We're the black feminists for that. I already stated in another video that if black women never aborted their kids, I don't care how bad economically you are, in the future, hey, in the future, we're going to run stuff. We sacrifice the now for the later. You sacrifice something. Either you sacrifice the future for the present, or you sacrifice the present for the future. But the time will come. The black population has stagnated for years. Planned Parenthood had a part in that. Nice and small, so you can be controllable by the Democratic Party. Now you're gonna say, "Oh, this is conspiracy theory, Kenny. You don't have anything to accentuate that." I don't have to. One good thing about what I focus on outcomes. I don't need to verify motive. I don't need to say, "Oh, are the Democrats intentionally doing this?" I don't have to prove that. I can look at the outcome. Hey, these policies negatively affect the black community. Whether you're talking about from an individual level, community level, or a national level. Abortion hurts black people at a national level. You stagnate our population. Now, another group of people that immigrated here, the Hispanics, sorry. This is why Candace Owens later in the previous parts outlined how legal immigration is the third biggest threat to the black community, is because these immigrants are going to have kids. Their population, I think we just got past 14%. It's like 13%. 30% us, 14% them. And in a couple years, they're gonna be the second largest population. And that could have been us 50 years ago, but they got us tied up in this me culture. And you notice in the black community, black men thinking about themselves, black women thinking about themselves. But when it comes to politics, we all supposed to fake unity. Oh, we're united. I don't know. I think the facade is going to break eventually. 10 years from now, I don't know how the future is going to be. But if I had to make a prediction, I think there's going to be a great divide in the black community. I honestly believe that. We'll see in 10 years.
Federal funding for Planned Parenthood.
The Democratic Party has always been focused on pushing eugenics and abortion on the black community.
Margaret Sanger, the woman that ultimately founded what became Planned Parenthood, believed that certain people were degenerate, were unworthy of living. And if you're one of those persons, perfectly okay for you to be eliminated.
Whether you're talking about Margaret Sanger's strategies back then, or you're talking about Planned Parenthood's tactics of today, they're still able to Trojan horse the black community. That is to deliver this message of we're for women's health, we're for the black community.
More than half of Planned Parenthood centers are located in areas without ready access to health care.
Here you have the left wing embracing Planned Parenthood, embracing the pro-choice movement, completely oblivious to the fact that Margaret Sanger was not particularly fond of poor black people who, in her view, could not make it on their own.
I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin.
I see black people argue that if a woman is poor, she shouldn't have a child. If that were the case, a lot of black people that I know who have done great things in life would never have been born.
Exactly. 76% of the black community has been raised by a single mom. So if that mom made a choice, imagine I'm complaining about the population, our population levels now. Imagine, let's take the opposite view. If most black women were pro-choice, I think based on politics, they are. If you're an independent black woman, like non-party affiliated and Republican, is like less likely, more likely if you are like pro whatever, because you bought into this messaging, but you don't see community level how it affects your community. You're doing an action that literally set back the community in the future for less power, less political prominence. You want us to say nice and controllable. I'm shocked. I'm against eugenics wholeheartedly. I don't care if you're disabled. I believe you all have a right to live. Like we all have a right to live. And the fact that we're just going along because it's convenient for us, that's what I'm saying. We're all about us, not all about we type of thing. I don't know. Maybe it's just our times. Like maybe we can't change it. I don't know. I'm lost for words, guys. I really am. Let's get back into it.
and I would have been one of them.
The billboard's idea that abortion is genocide has made a comeback in some parts of the black community.
Our population growth has stagnated.
Fueling this is the growing number of Latinos who have fewer abortions.
60% of all new births in this country are Latino, and you have Democrats that are advocating for open borders.
Ethnic minority than black Americans.
Right now, the Democrat Party relies upon our vote, but they don't have to forever.
Buenas noches, gracias de invitarnos. Gusto en verlo, caballero. Me llamo Julián Castro y estoy postulando.
Snake salesman, bro.
La situación ahora es inaceptable.
As a Haitian, on my Haitian, when you heard a politician ever speak Creole if he wasn't a native Haitian, I'll wait. They don't come kiss your butt like this. My parents immigrated into this country. We had to learn English. There was no Creole specific anything. That's why I have a problem with people doing, we should change our official documents to include other groups of language. If you do it for one people, you have to do it for all people. I expect to see a Chinese one, a German one, Haitian one, French one, whatever. Because if you do it for one, you have to do it for all. It's either you don't do it at all or you do it for everybody. You can't have this special treatment that's been going on with the Democratic Party. And you see it. Actions speak louder than words. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to wake up the black community. I'm like, yo, don't go along with this mess. They'll use you until they don't need you. And once they don't need you, all this racist narrative is going to go bye-bye. They might still use it, I don't know. I can't see the future. But I can see trends. And I can say that the black vote is going to become less relevant in the future than more relevant in the future, especially if we keep going this way.
Black people in general are starting to get the sense that we are being traded for illegal immigrants.
The caravan lurched forward, carrying babies, suitcases, and hope.
They're importing a whole new victim class. They're going to do exactly to the illegals what they did to Black America in the 60s. Get them addicted to government, get them addicted to handouts, and turn them into a permanent class of victim voters.
They are willing to use people's genuine disadvantages, people's genuine struggles to get into power.
And we're going to fight for fairness and justice for immigration. We're going to fight for DACA, and we're going to help this
How
country
is it
to move
that we have
to the
Maxine Waters and John Lewis and others in the Black Congressional Caucus who are fighting for DACA, for the dreamers of illegal aliens who've come to our nation, and they're not fighting for black children and the dreams that our kids and our teenagers have. They have set them aside and made DACA their priority. I submit to you, they are in pursuit of an agenda.
The black community has literally been destroyed by racist, illegal immigration, and we're not going to have it. When my people do a crime, we get 3 strikes. Your people do a crime, they get amnesty, they get benefits, and they're
Blacks are protesting the fact that for the last 50 years, they're living in cities that are the most dangerous, disinvested places, and they've been run by liberal black Democrats. But they've got no alternative to express that discontent.
The black community is low-hanging fruit for the Republican Party. And the fact that they're not making a more concerted effort to message to our community aggressively is a huge mistake.
First, they have to be serious about whether or not they want minorities in the party. And if they are, then they need to totally rethink how they're going about it.
This was 2 years ago. It speaks to a certain person with a certain mindset, like mine. Now, for people who don't think like me, that's the issue that the the Republican parties are running into. And I don't have an answer to that, because even I'm saying what I'm saying today will still rub majority of Black America the wrong way. So that's an interesting problem. I don't have the answer as of right now, but we'll see what her thoughts are.
My experiences running as a mayoral candidate in a city that's predominantly Democrat, I've been criticized by Republican strategists for spending my time in minority communities. I placed my campaign office in a historically black community. I did that by choice. I have not found the kind of support that I expected from Republicans. I think that if you look at the Republican Party, I believe that if I were white, that I would notice that there were so few people of color, racial and ethnic minorities in my party, and I would support the ones that were sincere. I love America. I've lived the American dream, and I want to give hope to people who are disadvantaged, not just black people, but also white people who come from unfortunate circumstances. When I've gone to campaign and elections meetings, I hear the strategists say, don't waste your time in minority communities. You need to hunt where the ducks are.
For years, the Democratic Party has assumed they were going to get 90-95% of the black vote, as did the Republican Party. So they didn't even try. Republicans have convinced themselves that blacks are unalterably Democrats. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's husband our money and our energy and just spend it where we think we can get votes.
The Latino votes. And I'm always about personal accountability, but as a community, I think loyalty is our biggest strength, but also our biggest weaknesses as well. Because like when a college recruit comes and says, oh, I'm committed to this school, what happens? All the other offers, they take it back. You don't have as much options to jump because you already committed to a school. Same situation the black community is in. And all I'm trying to push in is say, hey, look at the other platform. At least look at the other platform. So that way you don't feel like you're pigeonholed to Democrats are the lesser of two evils. Really? You seen the history? Really? Are they really the lesser of two evils? Yeah, you can feel how you feel, but the evidence they lay out here is pretty convincing. And it's pretty strong, too.
The Republican Party ignores us because they believe a narrative that has been pushed out into the public square that the black community is a monolith. And so we're being ignored on both sides.
The major conservative in the race, Carol Swain, was the last to concede tonight.
We're not making the kind of investments in our minority allies.
That's the fault of the Republican Party, is that they have just completely said, we can't connect with them, and they gave up. We have more in common with the Republican Party by far than anything Democrat, regardless of where your position is socioeconomically.
Because the Democrats, they're not giving jobs. They don't care about jobs. So they don't want you to succeed. They don't want you to own anything. That's why they keep spoon-feeding you, putting you in projects, and then you keep giving you little, so now you're dependent.
Being unapologetically capitalist is sort of the way to move forward.
I want to be rich. I don't want to be poor.
You want to be wealthy and successful. Well, we're the party that promotes values and policies that will make you wealthy and successful.
Conservatives are really bad at marketing good ideas. They're horrible.
The Republicans have been their own worst messengers. The problem with conservatives and what we don't do good enough is that we don't infiltrate ourselves into the culture.
For too long, we've let the left run culture. Saturday Night Live, right? We're going to make fun and people can understand humor.
You're not going to be able to sell your ideas and your theories and your thoughts to the people if you're doing things in the same way that you have done them for the last 20, 30 years.
Ladies and
I want to stop it right here because it's about to get real interesting. But my final thoughts is this is why the left is so threatened by the modern day Republican Party. They try to project this image that the modern day Republican Party is this racist party. Oh my God, they're out to get you, whatever. But then they don't realize that the same modern day Republican Party that's supposedly racist has the most black votes in recent memory. Mitt Romney, 2012, had less votes than 2016 Donald Trump. Explain that to me. If the modern day Republican Party is more racist. I'll see you guys in part 7.